What's happening, the firm? Episode 39 of Chattin Pony with Paddy The Baddy. As always, want to thank Flux for sponsoring the podcast, always being loyal to it. And as you can see, I've got the full Tracky and t-shirt on today and flexing it all. So get over to their Instagram, get over to the website, have a little gander. They've got new stuff coming out all the time. But today we have a very special guest. And Jack, introduce yourself, fella.
I'm Jack Gladman. I'm 25 and I'm a professional boxing matchmaker, former GB para athlete, and basically winging all of it.
I was about to say that, your name's Jack, and you're also a jack of all trades.
Yeah, it kind of does go along with it, doesn't it?
It does, lad, because literally, like as we were talking before, you've all sorts of different things, lad. You've got your fingers in all sorts of different pies. Yeah,
I get bored easily, I think. I just kind of do a bit of everything and see what happens.
Well, to be honest, lad, whenever I start my podcast, I always like to go back to the start. So obviously, let's go back to your childhood. And know what, a lot of my guests won't, like, because I personally don't really understand cerebral palsy that much. So just to give a bit of awareness to me guests, you know what I mean? What is, like, the big details in cerebral palsy?
I had something called hydrocephalus, which caused the cerebral palsy. So it's when your brain fluid doesn't drain away. So I have a shunt in my head, which actually will relate later on. It's the reason I'm not allowed to box myself or do like combat sports myself. So I did all that, and then I had that brought on the cerebral palsy.
So was you not born with cerebral palsy, no?
So I was born with the hydrocephalus, they think, but the cerebral palsy was just a side effect because they didn't realise I had the hydrocephalus until a later date. And then that's the whole thing. Like, it's a bit of a weird one because that just affects my dexterity. But cerebral palsy has lots of different variations. Like, I've got a friend who's who goes to a lot of boxing with me, but his cerebral palsy is slightly more severe. So he's in a wheelchair and things like that. Whereas I have mobility. It does affect my dexterity, so my writing, my like fine motor skills, things like that.
Yeah.
But
I reckon your handwriting's still better than mine, to be honest, lad. My handwriting's terrible.
Well, the joke is that if I had the brains, I could be a doctor because my handwriting's already there.
Yeah. So, what? Obviously, like, I thought kids are nasty, horrible, and cruel. So, like, what was it like growing up? So,
I'm not going to say it was easy because, like, so I don't know how to explain it really. So primary school, and this is a funny thing, I befriended a lad who I'm very small. Like, I don't know if this goes out as a video as well.
Yeah, it goes out as a video. It's on YouTube.
You'll notice I'm really short, and I've always been really short. So I befriended the biggest guy in the class when I was in primary school.
Smart decision. Yeah, very smart decision.
Because then
no one's messing with you then, are they?
Yeah. So and we became like best friends. He moved to Australia when we were 10, and I've actually been out to see him 3 times since, and I lived with him for 6 months.
That's great. That's a proper friendship. That going 24 hours away to go and see him.
And I went out there, but like where I got bullied a little bit, people try to bully him as well, but he's a lot bigger than me, so it wasn't really a thing. But then I got to secondary school, and
did he go to the same secondary school as well?
No, he moved by that point. He moved to Australia? He was in Oz from the age of 10, so he's actually lived there longer than he lived here in the UK. So yeah, but the mad thing for me was like, I got to secondary school and then the bullying did pick up a bit more because I was a bit different.
Yeah.
And then sort of
that's why I asked, because obviously I always try and get the message across here, because a lot of kids watch this, you know what I mean? And like, everyone was horrible when they were younger. It's just one of them things. Like, you couldn't help it. Like, when someone in school was a bit different, people would use it and like try and bully them.
I mean, it got to the point though that I had one incident where 3 lads decided to, they said something, I can't even remember what it was, and then pushed me, and eventually I just snapped and I went back at them. But 3-on-1 really doesn't go when you're only 5'5".
No, it doesn't. You're not wrong.
I was about 5'5" at the time, and three of them decided that was it. And so one of the lads actually ended up getting kicked out over it because he stamped on me and...
So we should, though.
Nothing serious.
Yeah, but so we should, though, lad, because it's not as if you're another normal lad. You've got a disability.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? If he'd done that on the street, lad, he'd be going to jail.
And, I mean, the funny thing is, a mate of mine who became a closer mate than he was, because he was sort of, I knew him, but didn't really hang about
But then
with
because
him.
of that, you ended up becoming closer.
Well, not now, but just for a couple of years, we were just quite like, he just hung around with our group, started to hang around with them. He actually pulled them off and threw one of them into the wall, the lad who got kicked out into the wall, and just went, "You stay back there."
Yeah.
And at the time, the school were going to kick it. We're going to like punish him. I went, "You punish him? Like, how does that make any sense?"
Doesn't make any sense at all.
Like, but then I think once I basically just went to bat for him, they were like, "Right, okay, we're going to have to like do something." So, and then they dealt with that, and then it was around that same time I just got real. I'd done athletics from about the age of 12, but I never really had gone down the disability side. So I'd always run mainstream. So I would run against
people who are able-bodied.
I would run against the likes of you. Like it wouldn't.
You'd probably beat me in a race, lad.
I mean, I'm less fit. I'm less fit now than I was obviously back then, but like, I still ran 16k the other day. Like,
yeah, nice that. Lovely stuff.
But so I just got to the sort of bit, and one of my teachers at school, who I owe a lot to, Mrs. Baxter, she actually came to me and she said, "Look, you know, you've got a disability. You could do para athletics." First time she came to me, I actually said no. I was like, "Nah, I'm happy doing what I'm doing." I was playing football disability, and I was like, "I don't really want to do athletics disability." Like,
was it because you didn't want to transfer over, or was you scared?
I enjoyed having the group camaraderie that I had with my group that I was in, and I'll be brutally honest as well, some of it was like female because there's some good looking people in my group, and I was like, but I was training with like them, and I just thought I don't want to go down that route. And then she came back to me it must have been about 5-6 months later, and she was like, "What's your times now?" So I told her, and she went, "No, you've got to go down there." She was like, "You'll probably still be allowed to train mainstream, but just go down there and see if you can do the disability side." And I think the first race I ever did, she phoned a GB coach actually, and they were like, "Look, you can't just turn up and be in GB. That's not how this works." So they give her the county coach's number. The county coach kind of knew me through disability football, but I didn't realise that at the time. And so I went down, and they had me compete in this regional competition for the county, and I was like, quite cool. You get a county vest. I was like, "Hey, I get a county vest. Here we go." So, and I won the race, and I lapped the entire field, and I was just like, "Oh, this is something
I need to pursue."
This is something. And then when I remember going on the way down there, they told me beforehand, like, we went down on a minibus, and they were like, "Oh, by the way, we probably won't take you to nationals because, like, it's first year, like, we're not gonna." And I lapped the field, and she went, "Yeah, we might take you to nationals."
Of course they did. Of course they were like, "Yeah, you're coming to nationals now, lapping the entire field. You're definitely coming."
But the funny thing was, I'd already booked, because this was a month after my 16th, so I'd already booked something for my birthday, and it was literally the same weekend. So she said, "Well, why don't you come up on the Sunday, run the 3,000 instead of the 15? Run the 15 instead of the 3,000. Run the 1,500."
Is that what you were doing at first, the 3,000?
I did a 3,000 for the county. I think I might have also done like a long jump or something random, but just because I had the standard for it, so I was like, or there wasn't a standard or something, and I just decided, all right, I'm going to do that. But I was never really good at that. I just thought I'd have a go. And so they said, "Look, come and do the 15, and you can go to your thing the night before." So I didn't go up with the team in the hotel. So I literally had like 3 hours sleep, came up, won the nationals and national juniors, and I think everyone at that point was going, "Right, okay,
we've got some talent on our hands here.
We got something here." And that was 2013, 2014. Was it 24? No, that might have been 2012 or 2013. I think 2014. I found the England Athletics Senior Champs, and I was like, there was a standard and it was like 5 minutes, and I think I'd run. Oh no, I think it was like 5:10, and I'd run 5 minutes, and I was like, or 4:57 or something, and I was just like, you know what, I'm going to enter this. So I entered it without really speaking to any of the county coaches or even my own coach. I was like, I've entered senior nationals, and she went, oh, we've got a few of the older people coming, like that were a couple of years older than me or a year older than me,
and they were competing.
They were going there. I just said, you're going to Birmingham. She said, right, go with your mum, see how you do. And I remember because it was the day that England played their first World Cup game in 2014, and we had a barbecue after. So I ran it, and because of the way it was mixed classification, it was done on points. I just remember like sitting there. I was like, finished third in the actual race, and I didn't realise the other two had different disabilities. And I was like, oh, I got a medal in my first senior nationals. That's cool. Like, I never thought I was any good. Like, it wasn't.
You got the realisation hit you when you actually...
And then they announced the result, and she said to me, the county coach, she was like, you know, this is done on points. You could have actually come higher than that. You might have got the silver or something. And none of us talked about the gold. And then they announced the result, and it was like first Jack Gladman. I was like I'm in shock. I was like, I'm national champion. Like, I'm national. And the whole way home, I'm like sat in the car and I'm going to my dad, I'm national champion. Like, this is mental.
Brilliant,
this doesn't happen.
How old was you at that stage?
16, 17.
16, national champion, and like you just registered for it late, just decided to do it.
I just was like, right, I can get in. Let's just do it. And I was like that. But before that, I'd done like the mainstream nationals for cross country, just because you could just register. And I was like, well, I'll do it. And I think I did it that year as well. I went up to Sunderland and did it because my dad's from the northeast. I was like, well, and my nan and granddad lived there at the time. So I was like, right. They lived in County Durham, like 15 minutes away from where it was being held. I was like, well, let's go do it. But I never thought I'd win one. And it was just like, I've done mad stuff since. And then it all sort of went normal. I was getting in GB's development programs. And then 2015, I got the phone call that I'd literally waited for. I would say my life, but I don't think I would say it my entire life, because it was really not that.
To be honest, it sounded like it all happened dead quick.
Yeah.
Because like 13, you ended up doing your first race and winning the 1500. Then 14, you won that national title. Then
no, it was like 13, I joined. 16, 17, I was national champion.
Yeah.
And then by that, it was weird. Like I'm like getting told. So I'm 18 years old, and like I remember they started doing this CP ISRA thing for athletes with cerebral palsy for England, and I got told, look, you're on the long list and we'd like to see you run. This is where the selectors are going to be. And I can't remember why, but I couldn't do the London one. I think my mum or dad might have been working. So we ended up going to Manchester, me and my dad. And I was still at school, and we went to Manchester on like a Wednesday night. And I was 18, like going to Manchester on a Wednesday night. I was still in sixth form. And I remember we went up there and I ran. I didn't even run well. I ran okay. And we come away, and I said to my dad, look, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it's been cool.
So what, like in your head, you thought, I haven't ran that well?
I haven't run that. I was thinking, well, hang
happen.
on, because I knew the selectors were there, and I knew there was pressure there. And they watched, and I was like, I still don't know who the selector was, because I still don't actually, I've never asked, and I'll never find out either. But
you might do now after this. You never know. Someone might comment on this. Yeah, go, I was the selector that day. Hopefully they do.
Yeah, it'd be quite cool to know. But so I come down and don't think anything of it, and it's sort of 2-3 weeks time for the selection. In the meantime, I get a phone call. Hi, Jack, it's British Athletics. Okay, what do you like? I've been in the team. Like, what do they want now? It's like, would you like to come to World Juniors in Holland? I was like, it's in July, and I'm like, but the funny thing is, and there's a funny story, and later on I did the same thing. I actually missed the initial selection phone call, so I got a voicemail. But I did the same thing for the World Championships as well. I was I was at training for the voicemail for the World Juniors, and I was asleep when they phoned me for the World Champs. So they must think I never answer my phone.
Yeah, lad, that's the sort of thing I do. My phone's always on vibrate. So like I end up with voicemails. I'm like, what, who's this off? And look back and I'm like, oh shit, I need to ring them back.
So it was like, she was like, for the senior one, it was funny because she was like, can you ring me, please? I was like, yeah. Like, can you ring me back and just let me know you want to do it? But the funny thing was, so I did it. I was like, yeah, I want to go. So I phoned them and said, yeah, I want to go. So I remember going to my coach and saying, right, we've got a bit. I was like, I'm in the World Juniors. And she was like, right, when is this? July. Okay.
How many months before was it that you got the phone call?
This was like, I think this must have been May.
So like two or 3 months?
2-3 months. And so, I then like the next day got the letter saying I'm representing England. And I'm like, I've got July and August. And I'm like, this is mad. So my coach was like, I don't know how we're going to do this. We're just going to have to like train you. But between July and August, you're just basically going to have to like tick over.
Yeah.
But not do anything
too strenuous so you don't get injured.
You're almost going to have to race once and that's it. Like in a month, which for me was, at that point, I was racing like every week.
Yeah.
And she was like, but you're almost, because when we got the letter for England, I was like running the 15, the 8, the 4, and the 4 relay. And I'm like, I'm racing 4 times in 3 days here. This is
that
crazy.
Must have been hard work on the body.
So then I go to that. I go to Holland, and I remember we got to the airport and everyone's had to wear kit back then. I don't know if that's still a thing now because I think they've changed it because of the like threat levels with terrorism and things like.
Oh yeah, it could be.
I know they did. They with the seniors, we couldn't wear kit on the Eurostar. They didn't
just
want
in
us,
case
just
something
in case something happened.
Yeah, that's frightening.
They asked, like, they emailed us and said, like, can you please not? I was like, yeah, fine. It's like, fine. I'll wear jeans.
Whereabouts in Holland was that? Was it in Amsterdam?
Stadskanaal.
I've never even heard that.
I hadn't until we flew there. We flew into Amsterdam and I was like, right, okay. And then it was like, oh, by the way, you've got a 3-hour coach journey or a 2-hour coach journey. Well, okay, where's this? The middle of nowhere. So we went there and I just remember everyone being in GB kit. And there's a few of them had been the year before as well for the World Juniors the year before. And I'm like, they all knew what they were doing. And I'm rooming with like, there's 4 of us and we were like in this little chalet thing. I just remember being with everyone and everyone else had been the year before.
So they all knew what to expect and you was just new.
But one of the lads had got phoned late the year before. So he was like getting the full experience properly for the first time.
Yeah.
And I got, but I'm there and I'm just happy to be there at that point. But then I go out there and I run. And I remember walking into the call room and I made the mistake of looking up and you just see American vest, Russian vest. What was that? I think there might have been Italian, German. Yeah. And I'm just looking around. There's about 8 to 10 people. I'm thinking, this is different level now. Yeah. And I'm just, and I remember the coach just going, are you okay? That was with me with GB. It was like, you okay? I was like, I will be. Just as soon as everyone like...
Did the nerves kick in then when you're seeing all the different nationalities?
And just like, nerves kicked in. And I remember walking out onto the track and my family had come over for the day to Holland and they literally drove over for the day. Even my nan, because my granddad had passed away by this point, and my nan came over to Holland, and actually, I owe her a debt of gratitude because she came to Manchester when I represented Southeast of England in the school games and things like that. Before that, and she's come everywhere.
She was always there for you.
She came as well. Like my mum and dad have always been there, but my nan, like obviously, she didn't have to do that. My mum and dad didn't have to, but they chose to.
They're there to support.
And then like my little brother came, and it was just such a mad, like it was a strange experience. But like I ran there, and I remember we hit the bell, and I was in third, and this Russian guy came past me, and we got to 200 to go, and I thought, I did not come all this way to finish 4th.
Yeah.
I'm not going home without a medal. Ironically, I did go home without a medal because they didn't have they didn't have the medals at the time. So I got the.
So what, you placed and then didn't get a medal?
No, I did. But they got sent to me in the post. So it was a really, really weird scenario.
That's crazy. So you actually, where did you end up coming that day?
Third.
You come third, and then didn't get your bronze.
I was like, and then they were like, "Oh, we haven't got the medal. We've run out." I don't know if what the reason was. They were like. I tell you what it was. They couldn't announce the results because there was 2 guys who were arm amputees, so they were doing it on points again. And I'm like, everyone bar those 2 arm amputees were on thing, and they came first and second anyway. So it could have just given them a medal. Even with the points, they came first and second.
So what did they do? Did they just put medals on you for the podium and then take them back off you?
No, we basically didn't get anything. Like GB came over and did a bit of a thing for me, but we didn't really get a podium. So then I went to
and at that point you're still only 18, aren't you?
Yeah, That's still crazy. Only 18. I was so my 18th birthday was mad because I would be still doing stuff, but I was still a kid. I was still at school. Well, I just finished school when all this was going on, and then I went away with England in August, and I was like, right. That's it. And I went away with England, and this is the only time in my whole life I think I felt like maybe I made a mistake because I went there being cocky because I thought I'm going to win. I don't care.
Yeah.
And these was fully grown adults I'm racing against for England, and I'm going. I genuinely thought I was going to win, and I went into the 800, and I actually won the race, but got disqualified.
Why?
So there was pushing and shoving, and basically. The Scottish athlete, when I was running for England, is also English, but he ran for Scotland through a Scottish father.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the reason was, and he has his reasons, and I'll never... And there's no animosity there anymore, hold my hands up. But I got DQ'd because they felt that I blocked him, despite... In my opinion, he still... And I showed video, I've seen video of it since. He ran into me, I can't do anything about that. And I was heartbroken. I actually, I think I may have said this to the England coaches. I want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. Screw the 15.
Ridiculous.
Screw the 15. Screw the 4. I don't care. I want my medal.
So you got disqualified because they said you blocked his path.
And
that's it.
They ran in, barging, and
what? He still placed.
He won. He got the medal because he came second.
You're kidding me.
And to be fair to a lot of the England team were fury. Some of the athletes were just we don't want... I bet he
was. I would have been, lad.
And some of them turned their backs on the anthem.
Yeah, lad, I'll be honest, if I was there, you know what I'm like, lad. I would have been causing uproar over that.
My dad weren't happy, and I just my little brother was probably only about 14, 15, and he was 14. He was just gutted for me. I remember him just saying, "Look, you've got to go out and win." And then when it got to the 15, I was like, right.
It's on.
And I remember in my head, I was actually thinking, you better hope that you're behind me when we get to this first corner. Because if you're ahead, you ain't gonna be when we come out of this.
Yeah.
And anyway, we kept switching back and forth between the race, and one of the GB coaches who I got on really well with was actually there because she lives. She came down to Nottingham. Where it was being held from Manchester to watch both of us because we're both British.
Yeah, both teams GB. She's coming to support, coming to help you out.
I think I don't know if she was more on my side or something. I'd have to ask
to be honest, I think most of them would have been after the way you've been disqualified.
And I think but he hadn't been in GB, whereas I had, and I think she was kind of knew me. She knew of him, but I think she kind of knew me really well. And she was an Olympian herself as well, a mainstream Olympian. And so she was there, but I remember she told me after that she was stood with the England coach, and he kept coming back past me, and it got to about 100 meters to go, and the England coach is going, he's going to lose again, isn't he? He's going to lose again, isn't he? And she went, don't worry, he's got this. And it was 50 meters to go. I went past. I remember coming back and Claire, the England coach, going, please don't ever do that again.
Everyone's nerves
I said, well, if I'd gone earlier, my legs would have gone and then he would have come past me. So I'd do it. And then I got the full set 'cause I got the bronze medal. The same day I got DQ'd in the 8, I actually finished 3rd in the 4. I was and I remember coming out of it and I was still upset and I was crying almost like I finished and I was crying. I was just like, I don't want, and because they said to me, you don't have to go to the medal ceremonies if you don't want, because they were doing all the medal ceremonies back at the hotel in the evening. And I was like, well, I'm going to go because I want the bronze.
Yeah.
I want the bronze to be presented to me on a podium, because they took that away from me in Holland.
Yeah.
And I still didn't have the medal from Holland at this point. I was like, I want to make sure I actually get this one.
So did you end up winning the 1500
Yeah,
though?
I won
so you got
the
a gold, a bronze.
And then I ran in the 4x1, which I never should have done because not a sprinter at all. But England wanted to put 2 teams in. And they said, look, you ran the 4. Can you just run one of the legs of the 4x1? I was like, well, I can, but it's not going to be very quick. And we actually got a silver to our own aid.
Nice.
They put all the faster sprinters in one team. And we were leading, and they came past us. We were leading off my leg because they put their slowest sprinter on, and they put one of the more severely, because they worked it out that you had to have a certain number of people from different classes of cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
And because I'm the least severe class, we put me on first leg, and they put one of the more severe classes on the first leg.
First leg.
So they just ran us down for the rest of the race. But after the first leg, so my joke to the rest of the team was, hang on, we were leading when I handed over, so not my fault this.
So you got a gold, a silver and a bronze, and then you should have had another gold, really.
Yeah. And
that's some medal haul, that lad.
And that was from one champs, and I remember, and then I went back the following year.
Yeah, because you were only still 18 at that point, wasn't you?
No, I tried to run one more race that year, and the same lad who beat me at World Games, I got spiked when I was leading, because they put us in with the mainstream guys who were like under 15s, so they're slower.
Yeah.
But we were obviously in separate race. But like,
what does spiked mean?
So you wear spikes on the bottom of your shoes.
Yeah.
And one of the under 15s caught my foot by accident. Completely by accident. Like his heel went up and he trod on my foot, and I was limping. So he came past me, and I remember being gutted, and I come off and said, I'm bleeding, like at the end of the thing. And I took my spike off and had cut on my foot. And he'd beaten me. So I remember the next year it got to nationals, and I said to my coach, I don't want to do it. I was going to Florida the next day, and I was like, I don't want to do it. I've entered, but I don't want to do it. And my coach was like, look, go. I don't care if you lose. Like, because I changed coach, because my coach I was using was just a voluntary club coach anyone could use. Yeah. And I wanted, at the end of that season, there was a world champs as well at the end of 2015. And I was 18 and I was world junior. I'd won the world games, and I genuinely believed I was about 5th in the world. And I genuinely believed I was going to Doha for the world champs. Yeah. Because it was in Doha, they'd moved it to October. And so I kept running that season. So my season had started in like April, thinking I'm going nowhere, just a normal club season. But in October, I'm still running because I might be going to the World Champs, and I was knackered. But so I'm thinking on selection day in September, I'm going to here. And I remember I actually had gone into because I'd started university, I'd gone to my lecturers and said, look, I might be away for a month because I may have a chance of being in a World Championships. Yeah. And they said, oh, that's fine. Like, we understand. Like, this is what you're going to do. So, and I remember the phone call, and I remember being told and having experience with juniors that they always tell you the day before. And so the day before selection, I'm sat in my room, and I didn't have any lectures, and I was just sat in my room, and I'm
just staring at the phone.
And I'm like, I was playing Football Manager, but I had my phone down next to me, and I'm thinking, they should have phoned by now. And the call never came. And I remember it's the only time I think I've ever cried about selection. Yeah. Because I believed I should. And then I remember I kept saying, I'm not going to watch, because they put it on Channel 4. I'm not going to watch my race. I'm not going to. And I can't remember why. I come back to my uni halls, and I had Domino's, and I was just like, right, I'm going to watch. I will watch. And I looked, and my time would have put me 4th or 5th. And I was just like...
Where did the person who they ended up selecting come?
Oh, they didn't take anyone from my event.
They didn't take anyone?
Because there's only a maximum number of slots you can have.
That's crazy.
But they don't necessarily always fill them, because financially it's not...
Yeah.
To obviously take people to Doha. So it was just like... But I remember thinking, if I could have come 4th or 5th, I could have come 3rd, because I wouldn't have gone all the way to Doha
Yeah,
to come fourth.
You would have pushed it even more and more just to get that medal.
I said, I don't care if it kills me. I'm going to... But, so then I changed my coach over the winter. And my 2016 just was a mess. Everything went wrong that could go wrong. And then at the end of it, I did this nationals, and I went there, and so at this point I'm in the middle of that last one I won another senior champ, so I'm now like I think I was 3-time senior champion at this point. And then I went there and I finished second in nationals to a guy with a learning disability, even on points. But I beat you, the lad who I was had the rivalry with.
The one who you got disqualified because of?
Yeah, and I was like, right, cool. Because I didn't want to race. I genuinely was fearing racing because I can't lose to him again.
Yeah.
I can't lose, because I'd lost the under-20s title to him, and I was just like, I can't lose to you again, because if I lose to you again, I'm done. I'm finished, because... Yes, I'm the British record holder, and I have been since I'm 16, but it's not going to mean anything if I can't do it when we go head to head.
Yeah. Then
it's just going to mean neither of us get taken for anything, because they're not going to take you because you're slower than me, but they're not going to take me because I can't beat you. So when we did that, and I remember I come second, and I walked away going... Weird. I beat him and I still didn't win. I still didn't get 4. I never did get number 4 either. It's one of those weird things. I never got number 4. It's a weird one. But I had 3 senior titles, but that was it. But then the following year we got start, and I realised things were going well. First race of the season, about 2 days before, hurt my foot, and I was like, this is brilliant. I was like, oh, great. So I went to A&E, and they said, oh, it's just a soft tissue thing. If you just strap it up, you'll be fine. So I strapped it up, ran in the British University Nationals, and I come last because it was the heats, and these are mainstream guys. But I set a PB, and everyone went. And I remember I took my shoe off, and a lad who I'm still friendly with. No, I took my shoe off, and because I had it all taped up. And a lad who I'm still mates with, because he actually lives in the Northeast, I still occasionally chat to him on Facebook. I took my shoe off and he went, what is up with your foot? Because he just saw all this tape. I was like, oh, it was hurting. It actually doesn't hurt now. And it was the same night that Joshua fought Klitschko. So I actually went straight from Bedford, showered, went back to my uni house, showered, went to Wembley to watch Joshua Klitschko.
That's someday, that.
Yeah. And it was all the week of my birthday as well. So the week before was my birthday. So it was like, that was a mad day. So I was already, and then I remember I ran on the Wednesday and a PB again. No, didn't PB. I was like, oh, maybe this is as fast as I can go. Ran about a week later, PB. Week later again, PB. And then we decided, because back in 2016, I was going to go to Italy and try and like be on the world stage and see how I did. Yeah. But British Athletics kind of said, it's not a good idea. You're still really young. But this time we were just like, right, nah, forget that. Because they dropped me from everything at the end of 2016.
Why?
Because I just hadn't performed. I was awful. I hadn't run any PBs. And they decided that I wasn't worth...
What about in 17? Then when you started getting all these PBs
so when
again,
I was hitting all these PBs, so then we've decided I'm going to Paris with my new coach, who's an ex-athlete himself. He was runner-up in the 2000 Great North Run, half marathon. Yeah. And so I said with all the drugs bans, he's probably actually won the thing. But he... so I remember I remember him saying to me, right, we'll do it. We'll go to Paris. And so we went to Paris and we went over there. And he said, look, I don't remember how the conversation came up. I said, how good do you think I could be? He went, because I remember the first conversation I ever had with him, he said, what do you want out of this? Are you doing it for fun, or are you doing it because you want to be an athlete, be the best, or what? And I said, well, I want to make the World Championships. I said, it's in London. That's my city. I want to represent my country in my city. Yeah. I mean, I'm from Hertfordshire, but I lived in London at the time, and so I was traveling like an hour to him every day. And then he did all this mad stuff. So we were like, he would do all this crazy, like training stuff with me. So we went over there, and it was just me and him. My parents came over for the day. Like he would go, it was a decision we took. I was 20, and my mum said, "Look, you can go with us, or you can go with him." And I was like, "Yeah, let's just go with him." So I went over there with my coach, and we did stuff. But there was some GB guys over there as well, and they would always stay in the hotel, eat the hotel food. He would like take me out for dinner every night. Like we would go out every night, and the deal was once I ran, I pay if I really want to pay him back, then I'll buy dinner on the last night, which is fair. I was like, yeah, fair enough. So we would go out for dinner every night, which would confuse the heck out of the GB coaches because I'd just be going wherever. So we'd go like do that, and he'd like get me walk around in the city. So anyway, I run PB British record in France and I finished second in the race. Unfortunately, didn't get the medal again. I'm really not very good at getting it.
What is this? Just your luck, or are these just terrible at giving medals out, lad?
Right,
what is going on here?
So they made the announcement in French that you have to go to the podium to get your medal, but it's in French. I can't speak French. He can't speak French. And because I didn't go to the podium, they wouldn't give me my medal or the prize money.
You're kidding me.
I mean, I wasn't really bothered about the prize money. I think it was, I can't even remember. It was like 150 euros or something stupid.
You want the medal, though, don't you? You want to prove the fact that you've done it.
Because that was the first senior medal and the only senior medal I ever won as well.
Did you ever get it?
No, never got it. They wouldn't give me it. I emailed them and everything. So if you're listening to this, Handy Sport Barrett, if you've got any medals over...
we want this medal now.
I want this medal.
Jack needs his medal. We want the medel. I can't believe that.
Because people always say, well, hang on, you came second in a Grand Prix, show us the medal. Well, I can't show you the medal. I don't have the medal.
They never give me the medal, the cheapskates.
Yeah, so if you've got any left over,
any left over, send one Jack's way. We want this medal. He needs this silver medal. People don't even believe him.
I think you still follow me on Twitter. You don't DM me. DM me, I'll give you my address. I'm not giving it out on a podcast.
Brilliant.
But yeah.
So from there, did you do any more tournaments after that?
Right. So then the whole big thing comes out, and this is where my blue tick comes from as well. Well, I'm assuming that. I've never asked Twitter directly why I have that. But so then I get this, the selection comes round again, and I'm like, right, this time I'm in. Surely to God, this time. I was actually ranked lower, which was weird, but I was like, come on, it's in London. I've run PB after PB after PB.
I've just got a silver medal.
Yeah. I'd broken the British record in the 800, the 3,000, and the 1,500. I was like, come on, I've just got a silver medal in Paris. I've proved I can go on the world stage, because that would be people's argument is, oh, you've never proved you can go onto that level. So I was like, I've proved I'm world level. All right, I'm probably not world class, and I never was, and I will never say I was world class. I was world level, not world class, and that's how I always sum it up to people. So, and selection comes out, not in it. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, right, this time, because there's an appeals process, I was like, this time I'm appealing because I'm 20 years old. It's in my home city. I basically just wrote this email out, and I said, look, I've PB'd in every single race bar one this season. I'm already flying, and you keep saying I need championship experience to be a real threat. You want me to be, you want championship experience.
How am I meant to get it if you aren't letting me in?
Just let me go to a championships. And they went, appeal accepted. Yet again, missed the phone call for the selection because I was asleep.
Another voicemail.
Yeah. And I remember it was funny because they left the voicemail, and I remember my mum was at home for some reason. Mum, I think I need to, I'm in London. I was like, and I wanted to do the 15 and the 8, but when they offered me the 15, I was like, right, I'm not going to push my luck here. I'm just going to, I'll take this. I'm at a world championship. So I was like, right, cool. So I got to the phone them back. Yeah, you're in. Oh, by the way, you're coming to Loughborough on, it was like a week Saturday. We want all of you here. We're going to send you all the kit. And when the kit arrives, with the juniors, you get sent a suitcase, right? Full of kit. With this, you get a suitcase full of kit and then another bag full of kit with the seniors. And I'm going, this feels real now.
Yeah.
This feels real now. Walk into the hotel, and I ended up chatting to a few lads that I knew from just being in development camps with them and stuff when I was in GB's development. And then I walked into the room and Johnny Peacock's opposite me, and I'm going, I actually don't know what to...
A little bit starstruck.
I'm a little bit like, oh, okay. And then Richard Whitehead walks in and you're like, okay, this is getting... And it was just like the more... And you see all... And that Hannah Kovroff's there, and I'm just like, this is getting a little bit like, how am I here? And so then go away on holding camp, do all that. And I got to room with a former world champion, a guy called Paul Blake.
Brilliant.
I was just like... They put me in with him, I think, for experience on the holding camp. And then they put me in with a mate of mine who it was his first champ. No, I think he might have been Europeans, but...
It's different. The Wales and Europeans is different, isn't it?
He'd been to a Europeans, but hadn't been to a Worlds. And it was his first world champs. So they put us in together and we knew each other really well. And that was great because me and him just got on. Like, it was great. He's a Northern Irish lad called James Hamilton. He was great. And it was kind of like, you kind of forgot with him, like, because learning disability classes, he kind of didn't seem to, like, be that bothered that we were at a world championship.
The pressure never got to him.
It was like, and I don't know if he was, like, just really good at hiding it or really, like, maybe he had so much anxiety he didn't want to say it out loud, but it was really helpful for me because I was, like, sat there going, this is mental. But, like, but the camaraderie as a team. So the first 2 nights I went into the stadium. I think, was it the first 2 or the first 3? First 2 or 3 nights, which they don't normally like you doing, but they let me do it to get used to being in the stadium because I think they realised I was deer in headlights. So, and all the while this is going on, I ended up actually being able to train out of where I trained out of Lee Valley in Enfield with my own coach because they said, look, some people, there was something that went on where someone sadly passed away, so they had to shut one of the training centres they were going to use. And so they needed some people to go to Lee Valley. And I said, well, can I do it? 'Cause if I do that, I can use my actual coach. And they were like, yeah, that's fine. So they used to get me on taxis and stuff to go down there. They always sent coaches with me. They would never let me do it on my own, which was a bit weird because I've been doing it on my own for like 2 years. But yeah, I mean, I understand why they did it because obviously I'm a commodity to them while I'm away with them. So I would go and I'd train my own coach. And I think it was the day before my race, he was like, right, I'm going to pretend we've got a session just so I can get you away from the hotel. Like, he wanted me away from the hotel, whereas they like you to stay in it. Yeah. So like on the day he actually spoke to them and said, look, on the day of his race, do something, just take him for a walk, something, just because if you leave him in the hotel room, by the time he gets to the start line, he will do something stupid. And he said he'll do something stupid and burn himself out before he gets there. So they actually took me into Westfield Shopping Centre, which was and I saw all my family, which was great. Like, yeah, nice. And then at that point I was like, and I remember walking in to the call room and seeing the world record holder sat opposite me and I'm thinking, and he's sort of nodded at me. I'm thinking, 1, how do you know who I am? And 2, I'm really out my depth here. Like, and I just remember going through it in my head going, be careful what you wish for because you just might get it. I kept saying to everyone, race me, I'll take anyone, anytime, any place, anywhere. Well, hang on, this is it now.
So how did that go then?
9th out of the 10 that were there. And you know what? I went into the world champs ranked 9th and I finished 9th. I can't say any better than that. And I think I was about 0.2 away from my PB. Nice. And I said, you know what?
That was on the biggest stage you've ever been on.
That was 35,000 people, Saturday night, prime time on Channel 4. And I'm going, they are realising they've just put an idiot from Stevenage on Channel 4, right? Like, I gave a load of interviews that I don't remember giving, apparently.
So you was like a deer in headlights when the interviews came, just like.
The funny thing was, right, so my uncle sent it to me, but I can never find it now, and I really want to hear it again because it makes me laugh. Catherine Merry, a really sort of well-known athlete, she said she was doing the commentary for 5 Live, and they said, they were asking her about my chances, and she went, she was saying about like me being an outsider, which is fair enough because I was, but she said he does appear to be nervous, and I was thinking, yeah, because when I listened to it, I was like, yeah, I was nervous because funny enough, I haven't run in front of 35,000
people before.
Yeah. There's 35,000 people here, and I don't really. Funny enough, we don't normally get that in the Southern League meetings.
Yeah, there's only about 200 people there, that.
I don't think there's even that. I think, and most of them are athletes.
Yeah,
it's probably about 30 odd people. And most of them are athletes or parents of athletes. I've not really sat in front of
with a proper audience watching.
It's weird because I don't know if you've ever had this, but you can't see anyone. And you probably have it when you're in the
I've had it.
You can't see
when
it.
the bright lights are on.
You can't see anything. Like I can hear people. But I can't, and it's just like white noise, but you can't see it.
Yeah, you can't, as I say. Like when I get in the cage, people say that because all the bright lights were on you, you can't really see until you actually get on the cage. You can't really see round, know what I mean? There's all lights on you, the heat. You don't even think about that, you just hear noises.
Well, to be honest, in Vegas, you can't even see it from, you can only see the cage from the stand. You can't see the outside of it.
Yeah.
Because I've been.
So from there, was that the end of your athletics career after that?
So I carried on, but the only other international race I did a couple of other international races. I went back to France and I came Paris and I came 6th, and I went to Barcelona and I think I came about 4th, 5th, because they paid for it for Barcelona. So I was like, well, I think I had to pay for my flight and they paid for my hotel and everything. So I was just like, right, do that. But I was still training and everything. But then 2019 I got injured. And then I also decided to go and help disabled children at a summer camp in Texas.
Brilliant, that boss.
So and that was a great experience. I got to live in America for 3 months effectively.
Yeah. And you're helping other people.
Yeah.
Know what I mean? I always say it's nice to be nice.
And I met some great people over there. There was loads of different people from different countries that were over there helping. So it was like, and obviously you get paid and stuff. You get paid a little bit, but it's not.
It's the experience as well, though, isn't it?
And like, we would have the weekends off, so we'd be like going away and out and stuff in
America,
Texas.
seeing what's happening.
Like, this is thing. So, and then I went back to Vegas, but in the middle of that, I'd gone to Vegas and I was actually at the McGregor Khabib fight.
Yeah,
that was genuinely. And I work in boxing now, so this is not an underestimate. That is one of the most scared I've been at a sporting event because that all started kicking off, and I'm like, I'm 5'5" here. And funny enough, I was with the lad who lives in Australia. I was like, why is it?
You were like that behind them.
Yeah, I mean,
I know what you mean there, though. we've seen videos from that. Like, obviously, because the way Khabib jumped over, because of that, like, the fans ended up fighting. Lots of fans were fighting.
Have you seen the video of the Russian guy getting completely iced out on the walkway?
I've seen multiple videos of Irish people and Russians getting ironed out.
So the one where he's out on the the
forecourt thing. Yeah.
That was directly behind us.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know it had happened, and then we just walked past him and we're like, well, he's not had a good night.
He's being flatlined.
But other than that, that was actually a really good night.
Like,
But we decided not to go out in Vegas that night because we got back at 1 and we were like, should we go back out? And then we just saw like bits of the casinos had been smashed up and we're like,
leave that there.
So we had it was funny because we had like the news on in our room. We were just seeing it all get like played out. And
all unfolded on the news in front of your eyes.
And we're like, and my mate went, we could probably just look out the window and see the same thing. I was like, yeah, to be fair.
Oh, that's great.
And they cancelled all the after parties.
Yeah.
They wouldn't, because we were going to go. We was going to pay. those tickets cost so much. The McGregor ones. I
think that's probably one of the most expensive events in UFC history because it was a big rivalry, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it was cool. It's the only UFC event I've actually been to.
Is that the only event you've ever been to at UFC?
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. What an event that is to go to for your only ever UFC event.
My mate was a massive McGregor fan. So he was like, can we go? Because we'd booked Vegas a year in advance. So we'd booked it before it got announced.
Nice.
So we got a decent thing.
Yeah.
And he was like, if we can get tickets, can we go? I was like, yeah. And I forgot to set him a price cap. $1,000.
$1,000?
Yeah. It was like
I forgot to set him a
quid.
price cap.
Yeah. So I didn't think he'd be stupid enough to do that. I mean, I once went to New York for 48 hours to watch Rocky Fielding Canelo, so I can't say anything.
Yeah. But so that you've just sort of brought me on to our next point, not boxing. How did you end up getting into boxing and being Britain's youngest matchmaker? Because that's fascinating for me.
Right, so I'm sitting there. I was sitting at home, and me and my mate, who's in a wheelchair, the lad who I said about who's in a wheelchair, goes to a lot of boxing events with me.
Yeah.
So me and Sean basically would go to events and we'd think. And one night we were sat on the phone, and I think I'd had ciders and stuff, and we were just chatting like rubbish, just saying, oh, if we could pick the next 3 fights for, say, Deontay Wilder, who would we pick? And bang, bang, bang. And it got to the point where we were doing it for prospects.
Yeah.
And I said, look, the problem with prospects is they're not they fight too long, or they fight the wrong people at the wrong times.
Yeah.
And he said, well, do something about it then. So initially I went there and was like, right, I'm going to be a manager then. I'm going to manage a fighter. And I didn't realise that, cause being naive and sort of 22 years old or whatever, I didn't realise you had to be in boxing 3 years before you could have a manager's licence in the UK. So I was like, right, I can't do that. I was like, be a matchmaker though. So I applied for my, during lockdown, I actually applied for my licence. I was like, they might say no, but you know what?
Give it a go anyway.
I was doing a boxing podcast at the time. I was like, right, you know what? I'll just do it. And
yeah, if you don't ask, you don't get. You need to try, don't you?
so I applied for it, and I almost forgot about it. And then I got an email saying like, this is blah, blah, blah from the Northern Area Boxing Board. Like, we've decided to give you an interview. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So I said to my brother, will you drive me to Sunderland? Because at the time I was living with my parents in North Yorkshire. He said, yeah, fine. So drove me to Sunderland, went in, did the interview, and you go outside and you stand there and you're waiting. And there's other boxers and managers and stuff going for licenses. So I actually ended up meeting the guy who owns the gym, whose show is this weekend at the Stadium of Light, Phil Jeffries. I actually met him on that day. And I remember, shows how, and I gave him a price for a thing, because he asked me how much would you charge for a show. And I gave him a price, and I'm not going to say what the price was because I don't want to give away how much it actually is. But it was so little compared to what
other people,
what I would actually charge now, because now knowing how much you're supposed to charge.
Yeah.
But I was almost charging for like the whole show what I now charge almost for one fight. Like, because I wasn't planning to do it as a job. I just planning to do it on the weekend. Like,
yeah, it was like you was putting fights together for fun, and then it ended up becoming a job.
Even when I got my license, it was supposed to be on the side of my job. Yeah. I was working as an apprentice teaching assistant. That was always the route I was going down. And then it got to the point where, so I injured my back training. I say training. I don't actually know how I injured my back. So I couldn't run. And it got to the point where I could barely walk. So eventually work at school just said, look, you're going to have to sign off, because I was taking painkillers and all sorts, and I couldn't do my job properly. And stuff. And they were already getting a bit upset with me because I was taking on too much boxing work during trying to do an apprenticeship, which you have to do written bits as well, and I'm trying to do that. So and the first person I worked with, I actually walked away because he's a very knowledgeable boxing person, but very difficult to work with.
Yeah, he had his way set in stone, and he wanted you to do the same.
No, it's not that. It's just he's an ex-fighter, so he's very intense.
Yeah.
He was very intense. Like, Like, you're relaxed out of the cage, but he's not relaxed. And I'm not going to out him on the podcast.
I'm not going to say who it is, but...
Mainly because he'd kill me. But he knows. And some people in boxing know. But, you know, and so I went and and I was doing a bit, and one of the bigger names in boxing, Lee Eaton, he came to me and said, look, I've got a couple of fights. You're a matchmaker. You're young. You're passionate. Do you fancy doing a bit for me? And I'd just been signed off work. So I said, you know what? I'll give it a go. Not really thinking much of it. I said, look, I'm an apprentice. But I said, while I'm off work, yeah, go on. I'll do a bit for you. And I actually made I match-made the debut of a fighter called Charlo de Freitas.
Yeah.
Who's now been on Matchroom twice. And I'm like, oh, I started this. This is quite nice. But yes, I did that. And then I did one a couple of weeks later for a woman who's actually the first female, I'm going to big her up here, first female fighter to ever fight on a Phil Jeffries Stadium Light show, Jordan Barker Porter. Yeah. And I've actually been to every single one of her fights, because even though I didn't matchmake her debut, I actually randomly went as a fan to her debut. So I didn't realise this till the other day. I was looking down her record, and I've matchmade 2 and been to the other 2.
Nice.
And I'll be there this weekend. So, but we figured out the fight after I won't be there, because I'm probably going to the Community Shield. So I will actually miss that one. But for the first sort of 5 fights she's had, I will have been to every single one. But so then they got in touch with me. I did those 2 fights, and then the promoter I work with the most in the Northeast, Matt Jobs, he had his own matchmaker, and in the background I'd asked him, like, because he just started promoting. Yeah. I'd asked him, do you need a matchmaker? And they already had one. He'd invited me to the press conference, but I couldn't go because of the pandemic. My mum was supposed to go to New York for her birthday. My mum and dad were going to go, and me and Ross would have been, like, my brother would have been at home. I lived in my own house by this point. And so I was just going to go to the press conference. Then obviously, America didn't reopen till the week after she was due to go. So I was like, well, I can't really go to this press conference on her birthday if she's here. Yeah. So I went back to hers. So I apologised to him, didn't think much of it. Then he phoned me about, his show was the Thursday. I think he phoned me the Wednesday before, so 8 days before, and was like, look, you're a matchmaker, aren't you? I was like, yeah, I am. I don't do a lot, but yeah, I am. I still do a bit. And he went, look, do you think you could match any of these 3 names up? And so I got 2 out and I matched 2 out the 3 with 8 days to go for the show. And I remember doing it, and then they said, look, come down to the show. And it was a dinner show, so I had to go out and buy a tuxedo because I didn't have one. I had a suit, but I didn't have a tuxedo, and you needed one. Yeah,
I don't own a tuxedo, so I know that one.
Yeah. I was like, suddenly I have to go and buy a tuxedo. So I went and did that. And then we went to their show, and then it came off after it, and it was actually really successful. And he said, look, they called me in about a week later in their gym and said, like, what do you want paying? So I told him the fee that I charged them, and he went, you sure you don't want more? Because it was short notice. I was like, no, it's fine. He went, oh, and also, do you want, we'd prefer to keep using you as opposed to the other matchmaker. Do you mind? I was like, yeah, I'll do it. So, and through them, they then work with Phil Jeffries, who I met earlier on. So they've had a fighter on the Stadium of Light, and the deal was I get to match Nathan Comiskey in his fight on the Stadium of Light, and I've matched him twice now, and neither of his opponents will go out the first round. So if he listens to this, Nathan, can you let one go more than 60 seconds, please?
So we can actually match it again, because at the minute no one wants to fight you by the sounds of things.
Yeah. At the minute, you're probably going to do your own York Hall fight, do yourself out your own York Hall fight. You want to fight at York Hall, you might want to let him last more than 90 seconds, this one. Because otherwise they're going to pull out again.
Yeah, people just, when people start finishing people that quick, they don't want to fight them, do they?
And then just more people got on board, like boxing. another company called Boxing Connected started using me. A guy called Victor Smith started promoting, and he started to use me. And just the more and more people get on board. And then a friend of mine I went to university with, weirdly, we both studied football, business and media and both work in boxing as matchmakers. I don't know how that's happened. But
fate,
anyway,
lad, fate.
He phoned me one day and said, look, Pete, look, Sky need someone for this show. Do you know any super welters going? And I did, because I'd just been on the phone to a manager of a super welter trying to book him for another date. And he went, no, but I'm free this weekend if you've got anything. I went, I don't. Anyway, so it goes back and forth, and he says, well, why don't you just do it and you can just get, they'll pay you through me. I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I phoned him up and said, look, I've got a fight for you. Unfortunately, it's in Newcastle on Sky. And he went, right, what's the purse? I went, so I said, well, what do you want? Because, there's no point. And we went back and forth, got it sorted out. He went and fought on Sky. And I was like, and it wasn't on main Sky, it was on, the YouTube undercover.
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? I'll take that. I was one on Sky, and then I've done one on some other ones on TV as well. I did a couple others on TV. And I've got a mate who, because I actually met a boxer, I met Billy Joe Saunders in the middle of all my athletic stuff. So I've got a mate who's only ever been to 2 boxing events in his life, and both of them were sat ringside with me. And he thinks that I feel like he thinks that you only sit ringside at boxing events. James, that's just me. That's not the general world.
He doesn't realise how expensive them seats actually are.
Well, he does, because it said the price on. I think he said the price on the ticket for the Billy Joe Saunders one. But
and he's
Bill gave us some, and Billy gave us them, and we realised when we got there, we were sat in amongst all his family.
Yeah,
which was quite cool. And then we were sat, but the stuff we got ringside, the ones I gave for Newcastle Arena when I had the TV show, it was with me where I'd put the 2 fights on. We were sat there, and we were sat right in front of actually a Scouse fighter, a guy called Mason Cartwright.
Yeah.
We were sat.
Mason.
We were sat right in front of his mum and his stepdad. It was brilliant. And my mate actually has just adopted him. He's basically decided that's his fighter. He's going. He wants to watch him every fight. It was I was just the most random fighter to but to be fair, he's never in boring fights. So I mean, he's got a
I've
point.
chatted with Mason a few times on Twitter. He's also a nice fella.
He is a really nice fella. But now when he posts about fights, I always tag my mate in it, and him and my mate have this conversation. I'm like,
great.
Yeah, I'll just leave you two to it, and
That your story's amazing, lad, to be honest. It's absolutely brilliant. So what have you got coming up in the future? Anything coming up soon, or any big fights you've got matching?
This Sunday, obviously, Stadium Light. That's my first. That's part of my bucket list. I have a boxing bucket list, and that's one of the things, was a stadium fight. Even though it's only one stand, I think that's open, but I'm still counting it. I get a stadium fight, therefore I'm happy. I've got shows at York Hall, which is always quite special. I think I might be doing one up in Liverpool, actually. Oh, no. Am I? No, I don't think that's going ahead now. I was good, but there's one I'm doing one in different places, but I have some loads in the northeast for Job's boxing. I think they've got one 27th of August at Rainton Arena in Durham. Sorry, I'm just self-promoting it.
That's what we do here. That's what we do.
They're like, can you shout us out? There you go. You've had your shout out.
Yeah.
But and I mean, I've got to give a big shout out to one of their lads, because one of the directors of Job's, his son TJ, has just started up this YouTube channel podcast thing, and fair play to him. He's 16 and he's doing it, and I said I'm young. He phoned me the other night, was for advice, and I was just it's weird for me to be giving advice to anyone.
Yeah.
So I mean,
what's his name?
TJ Mackay.
TJ, smash it, lad. Keep it going, son. Smash that podcast head in.
Yeah. I mean, it's still surreal to me that I've done all this and I'm 25.
Oh, you're just younger than me, lad. You've done just as much in your lifetime as I have in mine. It's brilliant.
It's like people used to say to me at school, like, oh, I remember one of my maths teachers actually, and I'm again not outing anyone because I don't do that. She actually said like, oh, you won't be an athlete because that just doesn't happen. I just remember thinking afterwards, like,
how can you say that to a child? Like, I've had a similar one.
I think it was because she was getting peed off because, like, towards the end, I would get like asked if I wanted to run in the year above, so that like they would pull me out of lessons. Like, do you want to run for the year above? Yeah, go on. All right, go and get go get your at lunchtime. Go get your PE kit and your spikes, and you come run in the year above.
Miss a class. Yeah. I know what you mean.
I like missed like 15 minutes at the end of the thing, which is probably why I failed maths twice. To be fair,
I had a teacher, lad, what said to me when I was younger. What are you doing MMA for? You're gonna get nowhere with that. You need to leave that and focus on your academic work. So I know exactly what you mean.
I mean, academics is important, by the way, because I've realised you have a lot of people. Because I'm glad I have my academics for the job I do now.
Yeah,
and
I just don't understand how you can say to a kid who's, especially when you're meant to be the teacher, you're gonna get nowhere with that. Or I just say they said it's not meant for you. Know what I mean?
I mean, I think somebody said to me once about me being an athlete. Oh, you're an athlete, you must be a millionaire. I wish.
Lad, people say that to me now. My sister said to me the other day that someone she knows turned to her and said, oh, have you quit work now? She's like, no, why? She's like, oh, your brother's a millionaire. It's like, I'm not.
Yeah, with you, it's because with you, it's because of the whole McGregor thing.
Yeah, it's the UFC thing, lad. People think the UFC is loads of money, where it's not that much money, lad. Know what I mean?
There are people that make a lot.
Yeah, there is.
I'd imagine, like, I mean, outside of McGregor, there's probably, like, John Jones probably makes a fair bit. But,
yeah, he probably makes a little bit, a few of them, but there's not that many.
But it's not every fighter on the UFC roster.
Far from it, lad.
It's the same as not every professional boxer makes.
Exactly.
Like, the guys on the small hall, some of them don't make a wage out of it.
No, they don't. Some of them fighters have to use their purse to pay for their opponents, don't they? Know what I mean? Literally, they have to use their purse to pay for opponents.
I mean, if you're one of these guys who has big major backing, then yeah, you might make money.
Yeah.
And if you come out of the Olympics and turn over,
yeah,
probably you're going to have a TV backer.
Yeah.
If you don't, I want to know why.
I've got to meet Peter McGrail. He's just done that. Come out of the Olympics, you know what I mean? And he's doing very well at the minute. I think he's 4-5-0 now.
His brother, I've matched.
Joe.
I matched.
Little Joe.
So, I don't know if you saw it. You know Joe blew that guy out in like 40 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely demolished him. Did you match that?
Yeah.
Yes, great stuff.
I was like, probably. I like phoned the bloke's manager, was like, Wayne, I'm really sorry.
They're both quality
But he was like,
boxers,
no, he said that's why we kept, because they were negotiating with me for a little while for it.
Yeah.
He went, that's why we asked for the money we asked for, because we knew he was getting stopped and banned for 28 days.
Yeah.
Because his journeyman, he was like, oh,
yeah. He's, well, they're both quality, Joe and Peter.
They're both far, yeah.
Yeah, they're both going to go far. But just before we finish up, lad, like, tell everyone where to find you. Know what I mean? On your socials, and if you want to give anyone else a shout out.
Yeah. My socials are at 244Jackster on Twitter and at Jack_athlete on Instagram. Right, my Twitter has a verified thing. My Instagram doesn't. I have applied like 6 times. For some strange reason, they won't do it.
Yeah, that's the thing with me, lad. I never ever applied. It just happened.
Yeah, I didn't with my Twitter.
Yeah, it just happens, doesn't it? It's weird.
So my Instagram never happened. So I was just like, right, okay, I'm going to do this then, because people now keep asking me, oh, is the Instagram actually
you?
You? If I could remember TJ's podcast's actual name, I would shout it out. But if you go on my socials, I think it's on there, because I've done an interview with him.
And you've shared some of his stuff and things like that.
Yeah.
So, well, everyone knows where to find you now. But Jack, I want to thank you so much for coming down today, lad. And as I say, you're an inspirational guy, lad. Yeah. You've proved a lot of people wrong, and you've done a lot of things that people say you shouldn't have. And it's brilliant to have you on the podcast, lad. I want to thank you very much for coming down.
Yeah. No problem, and good luck for your fight.
You know that, fella.
Is that 8 days now?
Yeah, a weigh-in in 8 days and a fight in 9. Yeah, but by the time this comes out, I will have punched his head in. Know what I mean? By the time this comes out, I'll have a first round finish and another win on the belt. But
I was just seeing how mental your weight classes are, like
Yeah.
compared to ours, because like
it's crazy in boxing.
your lightweight is like our flipping super welter.
Yeah.
It's
Like I fight at the same weight as Liam Beefy Smith.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
156.
yeah. So his is 154, but yeah,
Yeah, and what we have
Yeah.
to weigh. Well,
Yours
155,
isn't it?
But with the pound allowance, it's 156.
Yeah.
So I weigh in at like 70.8 kilograms.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
so that's like
I've got a little bit of weight to lose, but not much. So it's flying.
It's not like the 205 pound thing.
No.
Somebody posted that the other. It might have been you that actually posted the thing of like the article about you ballooning up, and I was like, what?
Well, that's just that I go from one extreme to another, lad. I don't like eat half healthy when I get off a diet. I just eat shit. You know what I mean? So it's one of them. I'll probably do it again, but we'll see. We'll see us in a few weeks, and we'll see how fat I am. But thank you for coming on, Jack. I really appreciate it. And
No problem.
thank you for watching, everyone. That's another episode of Chattin' Pony in the books. See you next week.